Welcome to the third Wargame Red Dragon microdeck tournament for the Discord server known as Red Star Vanguard. Second match of the summer tournament for this year in 2020. And today, as I have with me my co-host Troutmaster.
As always, wonderful to be here, Red. Today, good nice little match here. We've got Red Storm versus the Happy Team on straight to the point. Red Storm has Navy Tuna, Sean, and D Pete. Navy Tuna is a long-time member of the server, and she's invited more recently her friend Sean to come and join. They've done lots of practice together. They've got good cohesion. They've got a cool, complementary units. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they play. And I don't know as much about D Pete. Um, Anything you want to say about the other team?
Well, we have Jade, Ivan, and Mordem. Now, a few interesting things about these folks is that this is Mordem's first tournament. So they might be prone to making a few mistakes, but usually not, that can't be too easily. And we have Ivan Che, who is who was technically in the tournament for the last one, but never really had a chance to play a match, for like scheduling issues. So I'm really happy to see them finally be able to play this round in the tournament. They're a relatively inexperienced player, but I think they have some solid basics down. Again, we might see a few mistakes from them, but more so due to inexperience, rather than really with the format. And then we have Jade, who's a longtime member of the server as well, and is relatively well experienced in the finals in the last tournament. Actually, they made it to the final round of the last tournament, but unfortunately, their team did not quite come through. But I think Jade is back here to try to get some blood and see how far he can make it in this.
Yeah, I absolutely love playing matches with Jade. The tournaments are the matches are always very interesting and very lots of weird stuff going on. Very fun. So this match should be fun, should be interesting. Just to go over some quick unit choices, Navy has pulled Polish Marines, Sean has pulled Eastern Bloc Armored, and DP has pulled Mechanized Czech. Very nice, just standard pull of T-72s, a little ball of helicopters for getting an early drop, and an anti-air. What you would expect with these kind of decks, and two fobs. So pretty good supply situation.
Oh yeah, the situation is looking very in favor of Red Storm here. However, speaking of the supply situation, I don't believe there's a really good one going on for Happy Team. Oh wait, nope, I lied. They actually have two fobs. I stand corrected. I am wrong. Hey,
It's okay to be wrong. Just to mention, on this map specifically, we have our classic Should Fight Mountain on Hotel Charlie. We're going to have a lot of infantry fighting going on in the bushes there. And then the
yes,
area between
I
Juliet, Kilo, and Lima, where we're going to have a little bit more infantry fighting mixed in with tank fighting. So
oh yeah.
definitely a map that favors infantry fighting, and definitely a map that is very close and kind of in your face. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Being the naval variant, we also will have some conflict going on potentially around Alpha. We'll see what the Marine player does and how they choose to use those assets.
All right. So I think we'll get started now, eh?
On your count.
All right. Count down in 2. Play. Where are they off? Navy's off to quite a flight start. Looks like Sean is on the move and also on the move. Meanwhile, looks like got some units from Ivan Che that are kind of stationary, but looks like he's on the move, and so is Jade. All right, and now Ivan is off to the base. See how things are going over here.
All right, we've got planes inbound. The MiG-29 913s coming in from Navy. Nothing really countering that right now, but it doesn't look like they're going deep. Kind of just probing out what's there and seeing what is there to counter.
Indeed. So, they had a couple flares up.
Here we go. So I think Navy's moving in now to intercept these early helicopters. We'll see if there's some easy kills on those.
Ooh, that's a quick.
Not a lot of defense there against that, so
Still, these are carrying recon infantry inside them. Easy tap of 2 recon units. No counterplay against the MiG-29s. Those are free shots.
now Jade made an interesting choice, bringing BGS, so a very cheap recon unit. So although they've been lost, the point loss there is fairly limited, I think, to about 30 points. So.
And it looks like Navy's been able to fly all the way relatively unopposed. No helicopter counter, no plane counter, nothing to really set them off on the early way of getting out.
Very much what I would expect from Sean, choosing to use the Juliet corridor. That is typically where tanks in this map do the best because, well, you can see stuff.
Yeah, and we see the Moderna looking to line up against a couple of 2A1s. So let's pay attention to how this exchange goes.
It is going to be a fun one.
Moderna is closing the gap on the Leopard 2s. It's a nice half shot, but the Leopard 2s are starting to put fire. Seems to be against the Leopard 2A1 behind the Moderna. The Moderna exposes its side, taking a hit.
Oh, that's a painful shot. That's a painful shot. We'll see if that gets out of there alive.
And 2 missiles plow into it from Marder 1A3. Each one of those missiles dealing 24 AP. Plows into the Moderna and takes it out.
Expensive loss, not even so much for point value as for availability. There just aren't a lot of Modernas to get a pull in one of these decks, and it hurts a bit.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, we got 3 T-72s backed up by 2 S1s, and the Tunguska is laying down suppression fire on those infantry. Really bad day to be Panzer Grenadier 90 in this fight. Meanwhile, Leopard 2A1s are trying to close in some distance to get some more pot shots off, but I think Jade has decided that this tank's life might be worth something, and pulls it back.
We'll see what happens here. We've got a bunch of Cheetah Ds coming in, so. Additionally,
we've got Navy who's pushing up along Lima, doing some good work. Back on Shipfight Mountain, we see EP swarming up the mountain with more Streltsy and Gradcomba AGS-17. Really doing good work on his end is to just kind of fan out across the mountain, trying to secure as many flanks as possible, despite all the foliage in the map.
These MiG-29 913s are going in deep. We'll see if any price is paid for that. Kind of wondering if they're there to kind of check what the anti-air net looks like.
You know, probably, but the Flak Panzer Gepard that Jade's had are off. So it might be sort of a bait and switch. Maybe Jade is not trying to allude to what the anti-air situation is. The Mi-35 is just having a bad time. All the small arm fire on these helicopters, it will eventually bring it down.
That is a bit of a painful loss. I mean, not the end of the world, but definitely not the kind of thing you want to lose to a bunch of infantry. Generally, Shitfight Mountain is a very dangerous place for helicopters.
We have some Cheetah Ds coming to drop some bombs, taking out the 2 Tunguskas that were there. That is rough.
Very successfully used, and just a nice set of kills there.
Meanwhile, it looks like Mortem's XTP Beta 90 comes in and deals some solid damage to those T-72 S1s, in addition to what the Leopard 2A1 have.
Now, this is interesting, very good example of why you want to pay very close attention to autonomy. We have a Striv PBV-3021 command trying to do a long flank around the side, and it is going to run out of gas right about now, just by Lima.
Yeah, and that's definitely more of a rookie mistake on behalf of Ivan. Let's see if they can get some supplies for it later and get that refuel. Meanwhile, it looks like Navy is pushing hard and is forcing Ivan to engage with Marine infantry.
That's a lot of IFVs, and I think those Marine infantry will take an absolute beating. Definitely pulling the Commando C back and trying to maintain assets is a good idea here.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, back at Shipfight Mountain, we see that Mortem is pushing with some sappers, walk-ups, and DP's just shoveling in more infantry of most Chelsea.
Interesting move by Sean. We've got an MI2RO going all the way back around to Foxtrot. Just kind of seeing what's there, seeing what's going to prevent them from potentially using the naval corridor.
Indeed.
So that's good early game scouting, just kind of seeing, you know, maybe there's nothing there.
Hold on, we got Sean with a Mr. S back at spawn. We might be able to see some solid artillery plays here. We saw this Cactus SAHV was spotted out in the open. Is that an artillery shell flying for it? Oh, it is! Got an artillery shell flying in. Oh, okay, it's landing near. It's landing near. And that's a direct hit. Will we get another direct hit to take out the Cactus? Oh, near miss. We got another one. Then I'll go back to the rest of the fight. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, there's still another one. Come on. Oh. Well, it certainly panicked. Now back to the rest of the fight. We've got
Mortem and
Mortem and DP are having it for the Grand Helmets. And the Grand Helmet is just laying down the suppressive fire. Really effective use of the Grand Helmets here in this particular instance.
That's interesting to see. It's a lot of regular infantry trying to fight some shock-trained infantry, and that is a hard fight for sure.
Well, the Grand Helmet AGS is a fire support unit. Its grenade launcher really gives it an edge when it's able to provide direct fire against enemy infantry. However, we are getting some artillery fire from M109s. Interesting choice. Up against the infantry over here by that DP has. Definitely interesting choice, this triple stack recon infantry and effectively use them as line infantry, much the way that the most Chelsea is.
What another interesting thing about that actually is those Parapathfinders are a grenade launcher unit, so it is essentially two grenade launcher type units fighting each other.
But they are not within range enough to use the frag launcher.
Oh, okay.
Whereas the Grand Helmet has a 1.2 kilometer range, the Parapathfinder, I believe, has a much less, maybe about 400 some meters. I want to try to get a good lead here, but I might not be able to easily get access to it. I believe it might be less than 600 meters. Could be wrong. But I am curious for my sake. Yep, 455 meters.
Interesting here as well with Ivan J again. We have an Ethos Ihawk, which is a very nice unit, out of gas on sort of their side of the river at Lima. So definitely wanting to watch, you know, bringing supply in.
Got a bombing run from DP with the thermal MiG, going in for the Parapathfinders, taking two of them out, leaving a napalm in its wake, and no anti-air to counter that.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with that throughout the rest of this match, as if they can utilize that.
Yeah, Cheetah D's just took out a MiG-29. Easy trade, even though they're using infrared missiles.
Definitely a little bit of an overcommitment and paying for it there.
Absolutely. And I did believe that the Flak Panzer Gipper did fire a little bit, so there might have been a bit of a change suppression for anti-air. Well, it looks like DP still has volume, doubling out infantry. Lots of most Chelsea. They may not be all that fancy, but they certainly do. Meanwhile, it looks like we got some artillery firing into Gulf, which is intriguing. Good
early spot. So the MI2RO that snuck around behind Gulf spotted some of the fobs, and we have accurate fire coming in to hit Mortem's fob now. So very good early spot with the recon, and very good targeted artillery to wipe that fob out.
Yeah. An amazing play by Sean was to be able to flank around the entire map and spot their assets in the rear and start knocking out what assets they have. Back to neutral view. Artillery's gone quiet for a moment. Must be busy elsewhere. But solid play is on definitely DP pushing up along the mountain, Sean holding the mid, and maybe Tuna holding the right. Fortunately so far, it looks like Ivan's been able to hold off and lean. But Jade needs to find a breakthrough for Juliet, as does Sean. They're both kind of going head to head here, and
It'll be interesting to see. Right now, we've got a good buildup of troops on both sides. Everyone's got a lot of units out. It's really who decides to attack first. Can they successfully attack? And if not, how much damage do you take from unsuccessfully attacking? So it's very much a line duel right now of seeing who can utilize assets the best and who can commit them where they need to be committed the best.
this is funny. So we see Navy here with a quad stack of BRDM2 Strela 1Ms. These are the wheeled anti-air. So they're really cheap, 30 points each, 24 50-meter range. They're really their only saving grace is their speed.
I'll point out a little bit of eye poking. So right now, Navy has very successfully used the MiG-29s over on the kind of the alpha side of the map, gone in, taken out some recon units back towards Gulf, and being scared off by the cactus there. But overall, just a very solid, if you see recon, it's easy to hit, go in, take it out, and just prevent them from being able to effectively see what's going on the map.
Indeed. So it looks like the FOB's taking quite a bit of damage, but I don't think Sean has that MI2 RO anymore. I believe it was finally attacked by some planes while not looking.
Oh, we've got some smoke on an attack. You'll be happy to see that, Red. Right on Hotel. So we've got an infantry attack by D. Pete going in, fighting the Bocops of Mortem on Hotel.
Amazing. Finally, some good fucking smoke.
Smoke them if you got them, eh?
Welcome if you got him. But it's a very light attack, unfortunately. But maybe that's all he's trying to do, is just commit a handful of units to see where he can get away with. Nothing expensive, nothing he can't afford to lose.
It's definitely a nice foothold in the town. The Granado Met AGS-17 are providing a good covering fire from the woods there, good positioning. Kind of a cool little attack. It's a cool little infantry attack, well coordinated. Thermal MiG's coming in, and did it get away? Oh, it's close. I think the Thermal MiG just gets out.
Interesting thing to note is that the FOB that Mortem has is still alive.
Heavily damaged, but absolutely is still alive.
Oh, we got some sappers from Mortem starting to pour into the more Streltsy in the mountain. I think DP recognizes that iron is bad and should pull away from that sapper. Wise move. Very wise.
Another run by the Thermal MiG. We'll see if it gets in and out. That's an interesting choice. Good choice for the mountain fight, definitely. Hard to get line of sight with the ground-based anti-air, and you can get away with a lot of good bombing runs up on Shitfight Mountain.
So, it takes out a Buffalo transport, but beyond that, not much else. Not even so much as a panic on the SAS of 90. Would have definitely been a little more bitey. Maybe if DP might have called that in a town fight. But nonetheless, a worthwhile attempt.
Very good timing by Navy here. They're behind by a point in the point lead, and the Navy has pulled command to push out to Alpha just to neutralize that, make sure it doesn't get out of hand at all. Those points add up very quickly.
Oh yeah. Leave 1 point sit for 10 minutes, and that's going to be you're going to go over lead by 200 points. Something like that. Maybe not quite that much, but it feels like that. So we got Sean pushing into the forest with some options in 90, backed up by a BMP-1 BP-2. Suppressing the Grenadier 90 pretty effective. Although I think it would be hard for either party to push down or push up the plateau in the middle there. So since Sean successfully that, we'll see how things go from there. Now our 2 RO though, just not having a good day from Jade's Black Panther Gepard. And looks like Navy is. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's been a really hard fight on Fight Mountain for Deep Beat. The Motostrelki just do not have the staying power against shock trained infantry and are taking a lot of a very heavy beating. In fact, those aren't just shock trained; those are elites for the SF90s.
Oh, absolutely. Those special forces should be able to plow through line infantry. But the way you want to use line infantry is that you want to get them to engage and then use fire support assets to take them out.
A good fight right at Juliet right now. We've got Leopard 2A4 engaging and being driven back. We'll see if it gets out of there alive.
The Moderna's engaging, but it's somehow taking a lot of damage.
Oh, there we go. So at this point, Sean has pretty decent density of tanks there and some supporting assets with the Mi-35. And see if they take advantage of kind of weakening up Juliet. Jade's firing off an unsupported tank attack against Kilo. There are a lot of exposed assets there, so there could be some easy kills, but we'll see if it's overcommitment.
Meanwhile, it looks like Jade is sending in several Leopard 2s to engage some units that Navy possesses. And Navy so far is only response to some BT-76B. These are 15-point transports with 2 frontal armor. Maybe 3 at most.
We might see a command snipe here. We have an XH-1 Alpha over on Alpha, and I think it's going to be able to spot those command infantry because they haven't had their guns turned off.
But interesting.
And we'll see who wins.
I want to point out something. Jade's Leopard 2s cannot see the PT-76Bs. They're firing at woods because they have medium stealth.
Just to point something out here, I do believe we were supposed to have an air deck, and now we have seen a Baku and a Type 21 pulled in by Mortem. So I think this is a deck error that somehow got through.
Indeed, I believe this was a deck pulled by Mortem that might have had some an illegal deck design. So, rookie mistake. Mortem's first round in a tournament. So we'll see how see how things go, regardless of the deck pull. So that's something to note, is that if in the micro deck format, as is, only marine decks may pull chips. But in this instance, Mortem may have made an oversight by accidentally pulling airborne deck, believing the rules might have been available for airborne. Although it was interesting to note that much of the assets that Mortem pulled not much different than you would deck, with a handful of exceptions that could easily skim the eye if not careful.
Alright. And still just a steady +1.
Oh, hold on, we got some artillery coming in.
Where's it going for is the question. Oh, going for the fob again.
Yeah, looks like it's still hard, putting the hurt on the fob.
I'm a little bit surprised that Jade has not used battery fire against the command in Alpha, as that was spotted, so apparently not communicated efficiently in order to target and be able to use artillery on that command.
Oh, we got an anti-ship plane flying out here. But not too much going on. Although we see Mortem pull a big coup. And it seems to be just kind of swimming out by itself right now.
Yeah, that's definitely 3 naval cards in an air deck. Definitely a big deck mistake. we'll see what the end of the match is, but generally I would recommend against that, as that will pretty much be an automatic forfeit in the future, I'm sure. Just like to point out, the strip BV3021 Ivan Shea has pulled is still out of gas out by Lima. Is what it is.
Oh, yeah. And it looks like DP's absolutely surrounded Mortem here in Hotel with infantry and other vehicles. So at this point, it's sort of like a TED offensive that we're kind of waiting for. Is that DP just needs to be able to close the gap on the other side of Shinfai Mountain before bring all of his units full to bear on Hotel. And it might be a worthwhile wait. And that napalm, that thermal MiG just deleted another squad of infantry.
That is, this map is a very good map for a thermal MiG. It's very hard to get effective air cover over Hotel, and very good place to just sneak in some bombing runs, kill some infantry, because that's what you're going to find there.
Well, so far to Navy's benefit, it looks like those 3 Dushkas, or the PT-70SP, were able to keep the Leopard 2s off from pushing any further into Kilo earlier, so that turned out to be a big win and allowed Sean to be able to build up a tank back in Kilo. Or even redivert all the tanks. Looks like they had on top of the plateau. And now Navy's just kind of poking and prodding to see what's over here that that Jade has.
I think this is bait, so I think Navy is intending to pull those Leopards into the open for the tank concentration that is kind of behind where the Blue Berets are.
Oh, and DP getting the AGGM fire on the with the BVP 1Ps against the Martyr 1A3s that were trying to get up on top of the plateau. Well, Leopard 2, sorry, not Leopard, but a S1 takes the remaining and begins pummeling the Panzer Grenadiers that survived the transport explosion.
Yeah, Mortem's got the SASF coming in to deal with that, but that's definitely a nice positioning, definitely a nice cross the river shot to really get some nice side shots and break up a bit of a concentration of units there.
Oh yeah. So it looks like SASF lost one of their squads and a second member of the squad to the Grand Tomet AGSs. Guys have been putting out a lot of ammo, a lot of ordnance. They're down to 18 grenades on their double stack, which each one carries 180 ammunition.
We've got 2 MiG-29-912As with thermal MiGs coming in to do bombing runs. 2 of those up at once now. Hopefully this one gets out. I think this was an error. Yep, it's shot down.
Yeah, that looks like a user error or a right click or misclick, and just kind of kept flying and flew straight over the enemy's anti-air. A really rough choice. And we're seeing.
I will point out. Absolutely, you were just about to get to it with the ships. I've noticed that Navy has not been pulling a lot of other units. Well, there's a reason for that. We now have a Udaloy and 3 Huijans. That's a lot of points of ships that now has been committed to the map.
Yep. It looks like Navy was kind of building up some forces. Looks like Mortem has hidden their ships in the... I believe this might have been due to the realization of the error of that deck design, and has shelved their units off to the corner of the map under their own suggestion.
I think you're right in that. We'll see what happens, but that's good sportsmanship if that is the case, and very, very good sportsmanship in Mortem's. If you make a mistake, you recognize it and you make sure you don't take advantage of it. So.
Oh yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how this develops. Very weak line for Red Storm at Julia. They haven't got a lot there. A couple T-72s here and there, but not a whole bunch. And it's a place where it's weak, but there's nothing to exploit against it. And there's a good, strong concentration of tanks at Kilo to counterattack if something is committed to that. So, kind of remaining in a bit of a stalemate.
Indeed, it looks like Jade's built up a sizable amount of tanks though now. Counting 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12 maybe. Variants of maybe I'll recount a few, but 10, 12 Leopard 2 variants building up just around Juliet. Now, that isn't to say Sean hasn't been doing some of his own build-up, but I think we might be in for a sort of battle of the bulge situation. Meanwhile, it looks like DP trying to engage with some EDP 1Ps.
This is very interesting. Navy is trying to go very deep with these Huijans, and the Udaloy looks like pushing forward.
So it looks like Navy has put their command in Juliet, but it's out in the open, it's being directly spotted. If there is some artillery, it'd be a great place to put it right about now.
Yeah, absolutely. That infantry is spotted, and very much a communication thing. If you see something like that, you wish to communicate it. I think we're about to see artillery start falling on that, as Jade has got the PZH-4 109Gs wound up and firing.
Artillery's on. And the artillery is slammed, as we predicted. It is slamming the exposed tree that's out in the open. And that's it. Jade has finally secured Juliet.
That brings the score to 0-0, which is not bad. We've got 84 points versus 154 points, so not a huge lead, but definitely an advantage.
Indeed. Looks like we got some Hugians and the Udaloy moving into the bay over by Hotel Gulf. And some combat air patrol by Navy as well with Big 9s.
Interesting choice. A lot of the time, if you can use ships to enable a helicopter landing or a landing, in this case, the ships apparently are being moved in simply to try to block logistics and block advancement from the hotel side.
Well, it's not just
we'll
that.
See if they happen if they think.
Well, it's not just that, but also the Udal and the Hugians can also serve as an effective anti-air platform.
Absolutely.
Basically being able to deny air support directly to the hotel flying in from Gulf. If they want to provide air support for hotel, they're gonna have without losing. They're gonna want to have to get rid of those ships or fly all the way around. However, we see Ivan Che coming in with a 20 MFG, dumping 4 anti-ship missiles into one of the Hugians. We got 1, and it looks like all the missiles were broken. Well done with the Udaloy and Hugians. Yep, so as we predicted, it was some good sportsmanship from Mortem, who, having recognized their mistake, put the ships in a corner map to be shelved for the rest of the match, it seems.
That is a good sportsmanship. It's kind of too bad because that's a lot of points. Not a huge amount. It's quite a few points locked up in chips. So.
Yeah, it's a couple hundred points locked up in chips that, for better design choices, could have been put elsewhere, or at least could have been used properly. So Navy is really close here with their Udaloy. It's very fortunate for Navy that Morton does not have any tanks up here. There's another effective way to get rid of ships is simply using a bunch of tanks, popping all the woods at less than 1,000 meters, and pumping a bunch of shells. So, looks like DP is using some buffles to cause some load of shelling. Because I think DP hasn't realized yet that it's a attack move. And that's sort of a rookie mistake from DP. So they ended up getting shredded by their buffalo transports without really being able to use their RPGs. So again, for those of you watching, don't know yet, in order to get the attack move, select a unit, press Q, and you look quick where you want it to go. However, we see some artillery pouring in on the ships, or the Udaloy it looks like. And it's starting to look well. That's it. Yeah, it's down 2 health bars now from an artillery. Gosh.
I will say those Motorstrelki have really taken a good fight there. The Buffles are almost all dead.
Yep, looks like DP finally were able to wise up those Motorstrelki and get them to engage by using Q move.
They are down to their last heat rockets, and we'll see if they're successful here.
Wow.
There we go.
Okay, well, it looks like the Buckup are engaging back with those because of BVP ones. As much as I love the BVP ones as a sort of cavalry light tank, and the role against infantry, they have a very limited function.
Oh, and anti-ships planes coming in. Nice coordinated strike.
We got a missile.
And absolutely combined with that artillery. Oh,
Down.
if the timing had been just a little bit closer, a little bit tighter, I think we would have seen the Udaloy go down. Literally, I think a second timing. That difference meant just enough fire to really knock all those missiles down and prevent anything more than the loss of one U-10.
Again, we are being reminded that there's a lot of ways to sink a ship without using anti-ship weapons. And the artillery in this match is kind of reminding us of that. In the last one, had that MiG-25, but in this match, main simply the artillery that can deal quite a significant amount of damage. Oh, so whatever happened to that fob, it is now gone.
I was just checking that, and I think finally the artillery has successfully wiped that out, and not as much as could have been, but definitely denying some supply to the Happy team here.
Absolutely.
So we're getting to the point in the match where 27 minutes in. I think one of the teams at this point is going to have to make a decision on where they want to commit to, if they want to move this beyond being a static line fight. Otherwise, we'll probably see kind of just a, continued build-up kind of at the same level.
So it looks like Ivan's made the mistake of putting some units out in the open over by Lima. And Navy has been calling out players for what I believe is Sean's artillery to begin hitting positions that have been entrenched or considered caught out in the open idle.
I'm very interested to see how this goes off. There's a lot of tanks built up. There's a fair amount of infantry on both sides, right between Juliet and Kilo, and I really think that's going to be the big fight. When someone decides to commit, that's going to be what will set this match, is whoever wins will win that fight. As you said with the tanks, we have some Leopard 1A5s going in to engage the Weegens.
Interesting. It looks like that Udaloy might be on its way out of the fight to go retreat back to the moon. And it looks like Navy's calling in some additional ones to get some more supplies out there for the Udaloy.
I wasn't watching carefully enough. I didn't catch to see if any of the anti-ship planes had been knocked down by Navy's fighters. It'll be interesting to see if the Udaloy actually makes it back in one piece.
Well,
there we go. So Navy's realized that and moved the Weegens back to green.
Oh yeah. So it seems like the artillery from Jade is keeping the Udaloy on the move. Not very comfortable staying in one place. Jade has been constantly bombarding every location for the Udaloy. But here we got Mortal coming with some anti-ship planes. Jade coming in as well, but the handful of missiles that the Super Hornets provided just weren't enough.
Got a bit of an infantry attack between Lima and Kilo. Navy pushing in some blue berets and trying to punch through the defenses there.
We are seeing a big tank push by Sean, combined with well, just Sean, actually, I think. No combining, just Sean. Pushing in straight between Lima and Juliet. Mortem's flying in on Cheetah D. Is there an air response? There is not. No air response. Cheetah D is flying in, and looks like it's trying to come in on this tank formation.
This is going to be interesting. We're going to have
Cheetah D
the Leopard.
down.
2 A4s are moving in, so Jade is countering. I'm wondering if this will be decided by air power. The Mi-35s are coming in, as well as a fighter, so I think we might see a situation where having helicopter support and having anti-air support might make quite a big difference in this fight. Good timing by Sean. Moving the tanks back, I'm not sure intentionally from this attack, but moving them back from the attack.
So it looks like Navy flew a fighter and forced the Eotis IHawk, both of them, to draw all their missiles, engaging that one MiG-29. And now Sean's hopping over the mountain using his Mi-35s, and it is really hurting those Leopards.
I will say that's a
tank volume is
extremely risky maneuver, but very successfully pulled off.
I'm not sure if it was entirely coordinated, but if it was, it may have paid off. But the Eotis IHawk, I don't think had necessarily the range, or let's say the line of sight to engage the Mi-35s.
I think the Mi-35s at this point are fairly overcommitted. They should definitely be pulled back. Those tanks, they were actually backed up all the way into that little village, so they were facing armor forward and providing a crossfire against where the Mi-35s were engaging. Definitely an attack, a feign, and then an attempt to get side shots with the Mi-35s. Very, very interesting. I say risky as that means those tanks are backing up into a partially secured infantry line and potentially exposing both the back and the side to infantry in Lima.
Oh, absolutely. So we see Sean here using Moderna. Fortunately, not exposing the side armor this time. Although it is doing a little dance of armor maneuver, but fortunately does not expose the side. Leopard 2 are deciding to back up.
So, interestingly enough, Sean and Navy are working together now, pushing assets down into Lima, realizing that there's probably not a lot there to defend because they've drawn everything into a big fight that they are doing in advance, and just pushing up some light assets to see if they can secure that and take advantage of the bit of the hole in the line there. I'm not sure the mix of assets and the strength of assets is strong enough to hold that, but we'll see what happens.
And looks like Sean's artillery is pouring in on some of the positions that his helicopter set scouted out prior. Morton's XP Beta 190 is doing some pretty good work with anti-tank missiles. So much so it is running quite low ammo. Taking a look out back here on Shifai Mountain, has sort of maintained the line. Let's see. Although not seeing much of his assets deployed on Kilo Juliet, I see some of his tanks starting to pour in, and some artillery as well with the Pram S. Looking back at Happy Team, we've got Ivan, who's using some Becan 1As, drops from smoke, which is an interesting maneuver. While Sean's sending out some opposite fire. Let's see, what can Sean see right now? Oh, you can see that anti-air unit in the back there. And Still damaging it, but not quite killing it. Although killing some other unit that was next to it, which looks to be have been a recon unit possibly.
It looks like most of the tanks can pull back, regrouped. There was a bit of an attack going on in Lima, but kind of on pause. Nothing crazy happening.
Looks like Mortem has spotted some ships out here, or is at least aware of them. Yep, there's a smoldering Udaloy that's giving away its position because of the smoke bellowing from it. Or perhaps
I
the source.
believe an attack, a helicopter, recon helicopter was shot down there, Mortem's, and so that is why we have the attack marker there for artillery.
And it looks like we saw Navy commit to a strategic surrender to provide Sean and DP.
This is very interesting. I've played a couple matches with Navy recently, and one of the things that she and Sean have been working at is precisely this. It's utilizing the assets, making sure everything's out in the field, and then not just dropping from the match, still being there as advice, still being there as coordination, but saying it's better to get the advantage of having more units.
Oh, definitely. Oh, we see some portable MFGs coming from Ivan, sinking the Mona! The devastation of all those anti-air! Oh, those Strela ones are sinking. Oh, that was a good play by Ivan Chayu. Love to see it. Love to see supplies getting dunked on, and then all those supplies detonating, destroying everything around it. All the ship's damage, all the supplies more that will be used. Oh, beautiful. Chef kiss.
So that surrender definitely very, very important right now. You can see Sean's pulled at Kilo 4 Mi-35s. A whole line of Modernas and tanks is moving in through Kilo, and so we're definitely seeing kind of a buildup of some serious combined armor and helicopter power with a sufficient amount of anti-air in that area. Over on Hotel, DP is kind of probing, move some Motor Strelky up, just kind of engage with some Bocop, and pull back a little bit. Nothing too exciting, kind of a stalemate up on the mountain. Once again, interesting use of the MI2 rope by Sean, pushed very, very far out to the edge of the map on the Lima side. Just seeing if anything's over there and seeing if there's any holes to exploit.
Or just seeing if there's any maneuvering of the enemy in the mountain.
Once again, I've really, really got to hand it to Mortem. Realized the mistake, delved the involved units, and playing the game as straight and fairly as possible. Really, really good sportsmanship.
Gotta hand it to Mortem for that, for sure.
One of the interesting things here now is we have an interesting supply situation. So the match is very much winding down. There's not a heck of a lot of time left. 15 minutes. Someone's got to make a big play. Someone's got to make a big decision. Happy Team is out of supply, except for they've got some transport supply left, whereas Red Storm still has a full fob and a half, actually. So it'll be interesting to see if that makes a difference in terms of being able to sustain the fight and sustain units through the fight. Where that might...
see Sean's bunkers go in and knock out a anti-air unit. Although I don't believe Sean or DP really have all that much planes, but it's always nice to see another dead anti-air.
One of the things I'll point out Lima right now is there are 2 EOTS IHawks there. They are both empty, so...
Hold on. Putting up on a bar the EOTS IHawks, Sean did fly a recon helicopter behind Hotel. And they might have spotted that rover BV in the woods. Because it was, it looked like it was a hard sight before. Might start seeing something pouring, and yep. 2 rounds.
Very nice.
2 rounds poured in. And
We'll see if...
not quite. But it's not done yet. All it takes is 1 well-placed round to kill that 5 HP Jeep. Might be it. That's it. And that's Hotel knocked out.
Very nice command snipe. 2 points. That definitely puts the pressure on Jade, Ivan, and Mortem. They've really got to, pull out of the command up, reinforce the position. Puts them at a huge disadvantage with this little amount of time left in the match.
Absolutely.
Essentially, it means they've got to act now, and they don't have a choice. Otherwise, they lose the match.
Yep, it's got to be a Hail Mary for Kilo or nothing.
Given the assets they have there right now, I know time was given, assets were built up. I do not think they will be able to recover from that. Really nice command snipe, really nice helicopter sniping.
And those buckups just got deleted by Grant Tolman and Stelky. I gotta say, I gotta hand it to DP though. DP's really new at the game, and they're holding off pretty well on one of the difficult parts to hold, in my experience, which is what I call Shifai Mountain over here.
Yeah, definitely enough assets to bring them in, just flood the mountain with relatively cheap assets that do the job and really prevent Mortem from being able to push forward, just having to sit there and essentially just hold the position. Making that area just non-viable as a place to advance, push against Charlie. It means the fight has to be taken to Kilo. That's really the only option, which at this point is a very, very difficult option. It's something that is... If we see it, I think it's going to be very short and very painful.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
I will say, taking a quick look, both the Ethos IHawks have finally been rearmed, which is good to see, as those will be fairly vital assets for just making sure to limit the amount of damage from helicopters and planes. Although I don't think there are all that many planes left. Jade is definitely taking a hint from Sean and is getting some recon kind of back on the far side of Kilo if they can. A +3 for Red Storm now, so that is absolutely critical to be addressed. There really can't be literally another minute's delay is too long with the lead like that.
Absolutely. Perhaps a rookie mistake here by Ivan, but is that they're sitting just outside of Lima? That could be used to help capture Juliet, or at least relieve the command on Juliet, so it could be used.
Absolutely, and right now, like I mentioned, Jade is committing to that attack against a well-fortified position with lots of infantry in front to kind of soften things up, and then tanks behind. We'll see how long the attack lasts for.
And that is the onus of conquest, is that if you can't hold the point lead, hold the stalemate, then it is on you to mount an offensive.
Mortem's did a good job pulling the rover in. Got that, the point lead down to the +1. Good positioning by Jade. Had those Mi-35 spotted and brought a Flak Panzer up just to start wreaking havoc on them.
And it looks like Sean is committing to an offensive of his own. A lot of tanks over here coming out of the bush, acting as a sort of counter-offensive against Jade's assault.
Yeah, very nice classic counterattack. So, I mean, Sean was just waiting. Sean was sitting there saying, we have the lead, we have control. When they decide that we counterattack against what they send against us, and very much it gives a bonus of initiative, and you get to choose how you respond. And very, very good strategy, very good planning. It's going to be very, very painful for Happy Team, and I would say that above anything else will end the match.
Although it's a rather messy sort of assault, but it is an assault nonetheless. But despite the artillery pouring in and the tanks kind of flanking, the volume of Sean's assets means that he can just return fire at leisure. And I feel like this is really a particular situation where having an unloader on the T-72 to shine when you all start panicked or shaken or worried or whatever, and you need that sustained fire rate under pressure.
I will say, for Happy Team, in terms of having the assets available, being able to use the assets, they brought in the Leopard 2 A4s, they brought in anti-air. They've really neutralized how effective that tank mass could have been. Unfortunately for them, it's a little bit too late in the game, and they're a little bit too far behind to really take advantage of that. Good moves by Jade, really good moves, taking out the Mi-35s and just denying that asset to act as a flanking power. And now very, very good use of the Leopard 2 A4s to kind of drive that tank push back and make it retreat.
Meanwhile, it looks like DP's just going to be kind of quiet up on the mountain. No need to push. No need to make things more bloody than they have to be. Just sit down on Charlie and have a nice day. Because you've got the point lead, you don't have to do it. So it looks like Sean finally had enough of the whole fight and is pulling back his tanks. Definitely bloody in the nose though. We're seeing a lot of damaged units and a lot of panicked units. That is to say, Jade got away unscathed. A lot of his units and of Ivan's were also eliminated. That offensive.
We see the Mi-35s coming in now again, so those units that would have been fairly important for just establishing a good flanking point of fire against the tanks were wiped out early by a nice little Black Panzer move. At this point, really, they're just screening. They're making sure that Jade's tanks will have a harder time pushing forward.
Although something interesting to note that we didn't really see much ground-based recon other than, at least on Redstone, other than what Navy pulled for the ground recon. Hard time knowing if DP brought recon. Oh yeah, he did with the MI2 recon helicopter. But otherwise, as far as Sean went, I don't believe ground recon. But if you got a proper team providing all the frontline recon or face checking the infantry, as Navy Tuna has been, it may not be all that necessary.
I am very annoyed by this, as I love playing helicopters. The Mi-35s have been pushed in without support, and they pushed into a 5-stack of Black Panzer Gepards. No longer exist. I would recommend against using helicopters like that. That is not what they are for.
Yeah, they are used to assault or assist in assaults. Maybe like early game rushes, you can kind of rush out. But at late game, mid game, when anti-airs are mostly established along the front line, avoid flying them in unsupported.
It definitely is a cost that will not be felt. I mean, the game has been won at this point, but it is something that it's not the best use of assets to allow.
It's just not good practice.
Yeah.
Were there a military court, there might be a tribunal for the loss of those lives of those pilots.
Oh, and right now, I mean, Jade is pushing the Leopard to a forest forward through the forest. That is exactly where those Mi-35s were stationed. That was their role, was to cover the flank, and they're not there to do that, which is okay. It just is one of those things. Alright, up on Shitfight Mountain, it looks like all is quiet. Except for the artillery coming in, trying to snipe a command again.
Interesting. So it looks like Sean's pulled in some BMP2s with Loki 90. We'll see if those can get unloaded in time. Yep, they're unloaded. And Leopard 2A4s are pushing out of the forest.
Oh, very, very close range. So a lot of these T-72s and T-72S1s will probably be engaging fairly damagingly against those. Just because of that extreme close range tank fighting.
Yep.
Oh.
Everything's going to be a 30 AP hit at that range.
And that is, this map in particular is a very difficult tank map because everything is so close that everything hits very, very hard.
Interesting play from DP that he is shoving another command unit into Kilo on the opposite side from where Shotton's is. Because it seems like Red Storm is very aware that just holding on to Kilo is going to be critical to the offensive.
Yeah, 1 minute and 40 seconds left in the match.
Let's see how it ends. We got 4 Flak Panzer Gephards making a desperation run into Kilo without a single tank to back them up.
No tank, no infantry, they do have artillery.
This is the Hail Mary. Unfortunately, it looks like that artillery is kind of doing a little friendly fragging. DP C2M's over there, getting a side shot on a Leopard 2A4. 55-point tanks pouring in rounds on the side armor of a 2A4 and killing it. That is amazing. I'm here for it. Looks like T-72Ms are engaging some IKB-91s. Another platoon of T-72M coming in from DP. RKB-1's killed, but you know what? When that platoon of T-72M's killed that 2A4, in terms of availability, they pretty much made up.
Nice shot by the thermal MiGs. Some transports were spotted, so the assumption was there was some infantry near them, and nicely placed napalm. Interesting choice on Happy Team. They did not surrender, so they did not get the point bonus on that.
Now, this is an interesting comparison of each player's armor players here, comparing Jade and Sean. So, Sean got the highest kills, but he also had the highest losses. While Jade had the highest kills on his team, sustained the most losses on his team, but still had a higher kill ratio than losses.
This is a very interesting match for that, looking at the score, looking at kind of how the attrition went down. And, I mean, DP took a huge amount of attrition, but held Shitfight Mountain with the assets that they had, and
Yep. That is
held that run up.
That was the beauty of DP's deck, was that it didn't matter how many losses he took. He could take them until unless you had a lot of volume coming down on him. And there just wasn't that volume from Mortem to really down. Because as we can see here in the score is not everything. Mortem was able to kill many of DP's units, and then some. But unfortunately, it's never enough that it would shut down DP from holding that side of the mountain, or even prodding Mortem's defenses. Yes, Mortem had superior quality infantry, but he never had the superior volume. And because of that, he could never be defensive beyond the ground that he held. And the result is, DP comes over with more conquest points because he can hold the ground in Shifan Mountain.
Absolutely, a really interesting match. Good sportsmanship by both teams, finishing the match with the deck error, and well played, hard fought. It's not often you'll see it, but you don't always see that the winning team is actually taking significantly more casualties than the losing team, and it's a good example of just bringing assets in, reinforcing the line, and making sure the line doesn't break defensively. And in the end, that carries the match more than anything else. Also, an interesting use of a strategic surrender of saying the important assets are the heavy tanks, and having more of those will, in the end, win the fight.
Indeed. And also, in addition, was I guess you could say DP having some more was helpful, but it was definitely Sean who brought a lot of the heavy assets that allowed him to effectively contest Jade on the armor front. Now,
one of the important things that's kind of interesting is the early spot with the recon helicopter and the destruction of the fob. Very much by the end of the match, made it more difficult to rearm and sustain a lot of the heavy anti-air units and repair some of their units. And so the loss of an early fob or mid-game fob probably. It made it so that it was much, much harder for Happy Team to push through because it was much harder to repair and sustain ammunition. Interestingly enough, in Red Storm's side, I would say they almost brought too much supply. They had 2 full fobs. They were relying on attrition. They were relying on units that wouldn't necessarily last that long, but would keep the fight in one spot. And so.
And it was interesting because Navy Tuna had Marines, lucky to get the Marine map, had a Muna, Sean had a fob, and then I think DP'd also brought a fob. So they had at least over 4,000 liters of supplies, minimum. Probably much more than that. They were never really able to leverage all that supplies, in the sense of, like, half of it. Because a lot of the assets that demanded the fob were never really able to be used to be being brought back to the fob. Now, that is to say, I think Sean could have done a little more efficiency by trying to keep the helicopters at range. Because they have 20-meter range with their Kokon missiles, so there's no reason not to. And just pull those helicopters back to the fob when they get. The gun is there when you need it, but the gun is not there because the helicopter has a gun. The helicopter is there because you've got the missiles and the rockets. But if you need to shred infantry that's close range, that's enough to get close to the helicopter, the gun. But by all means, you should focus on the assets, helicopter brigades that are project at range, back, as long as you have the supplies to keep staying fed.
Absolutely. 2 cards of helicopters, if well used, will take an entire supply, fobs worth of supply over a match.
Hell, even
helicopters
in some cases, depending on the volume, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, having those Mi-35s out and then a shot down so soon, definitely very, very painful loss in terms of not necessarily using assets to their strengths. Helicopters are often defensive. It's about being able to respond to things with a counterattack, being able to move units around quickly, put force where it needs to be. And, they were sent in unsupported to attack the front line, essentially, and shot down. And therefore, they're not there later, and they don't need the fob supply because they're already dead. So I would say, just something where you definitely want to manage those kind of assets a little bit more carefully. It did not cost the match, but definitely something where a little bit more efficiency definitely could have been used.
You could definitely argue that with helicopters, you can kind of consider them almost like spearmen in a way. There's a time when you want to charge, and there's a time when you want to just hold your ground and defend. In this way, I usually almost recommend that helicopters are best when you go out and rush positions because of their incredible speed. But once the anti-airline fills out and the front line is established, it's most tiresome and exhausting to try to find to make those helicopters function. Supplemental asset. So, point where you should just say, all right, it's time to use this helicopter to support my front line. So that way I keep out of range of enemy self my assets intact.
I will say one of the things that DP did very, very well setting up on Shipfight Mountain is making sure there was a little bit of fire across the river, preventing it from being a safe corridor that Happy Team could push up into and potentially exploit. Because once you push through the center of the map, it's open ground and it's good. It's a good place to fight with tanks. And so keeping them from being able to go forward was critical to maintaining that position on the map.
Absolutely, those BBP 1Ps absolutely were a bit of a menace to not necessarily so much as Mortem, but very much so to Jade. The ability that they allowed essentially DP take those tanks and say, all right, I got some HGM carriers that have 3 frontal armor. They'll take at least 2 shots to kill each one of them with your Leopard 2 if you're within range. Because it's 26-25 missiles with the Conquerors that deal 20 HP. They'll deal a good number on any side of those Leopard 2A4s or Leopard 2s. It's not a problem.
Absolutely, and it was an interesting. This map is interesting in that you have armor decks and mechanized decks trying to slug it out, and the assets were deployed in a way that, for the most part, they were pushing into forested areas or pushing into close range areas, and so it really depreciates the value of those assets because they're engaging at extremely close range. The AP value on the guns is very, very much bumped up because of that, and it becomes very expensive attrition warfare instead of being able to engage in actual mobile warfare. So interesting choices by both teams that really locked them down into a slow, grinding, brutal fight. That was very, not narrowly won, I would say. This is a close match. This is a good match, and this is a very enjoyable match.
Absolutely, a lot of the match for the most part of the fight was relatively neck to neck. I think it really came into clutch though with Sean having taken out that command jeep that was stationed on the other side of Shitfight Mountain. Eventually, not having those flanks secured allowed Sean to fly a helicopter in exceptional optics, get a peek just for a moment. Just a moment. That was all he needed. And that's where he knew where the enemy command was, and slammed it with a Mr. S.
Absolutely. A little bit, it's kind of a risk-reward play where you say an asset is good, I have a limited quantity of it, but if I use it, push it forward, push it into somewhere where I don't expect there to be resistance, and there is no resistance, then the reward for that can definitely be some early spots, some good spots, and just preventing someone from being able to maintain commands, maintain supply. And that was very well played.
Absolutely. That recon helicopter did fly out by itself. It did die. It did its job to spot the enemy command and was able to let the artillery. Well done. That was the clutch play that really broke the back for Happy Team. I hope they can keep their happiness up. Another round to play.
Losing is fun. That's what you always learn something, as long as it's a good match and a tight match. There's nothing wrong with losing a match.
Yep, if you learn something and you're having a good match, all the way up to like a solid inflection point, it always feels that much more, wholesome when the match has a closure. Before we head out, I want to say big thank you to Sport about having pulled and putting the units off to the corner of the map. Having realized that.
Absolutely. All right.
All right. Well, thank you for watching, everyone, and we'll see you on the next round.
Absolutely. See you next time.